All right, back again with another video. Again, welcome to the channel. Thanks to all of our subscribers and welcome anyone who is new to the channel. So this particular video is going to be a what to expect during embarkation and just some tips that I feel are important to get you ready and prepared to embark on your Carnival cruise. So before you even arrive to the port, my recommendation is to download the Carnival Hub app. Now you can locate it through the Apple Store or Google Store, and it is a very beneficial app to have while you're on board. Also, before you even get to embarkation, it's great to have because it does give you a countdown of days, hours, and minutes until your cruise. So it's very exciting to keep down with it. But you want to make sure that that's downloaded and ready to go on your phone once you get on board. You also want to print and attach your luggage tags before getting there. You can find these attached to your cruise documents once you print those off of the website. Now, the porters do have generic ones if you forget to print them or if you run out of tags. But please know that the generic tags that the porters have do not have your stateroom number on them. They write it in. So those typically do take longer to arrive to your room because they have to physically look at the room number versus it being printed out really big and visible to show where your bag needs to go. Now, you want to keep a folder or a binder handy with all of your documents in your carry-on. Please, please, please make sure that you have this with your carry-on items and not in your check luggage. The last thing you want to do is your bags are already whisked away by the porters and you don't have your documents to get on the ship. It's a complete nightmare. Now, if you're taking wine or pop, you want to also make sure that that's in your carry-on and not in your check luggage. If they do find that in your check luggage, it will be confiscated. It does need to be in your carry-on so that they can inspect it. Now, I keep talking about this carry-on bag. Now, included in your carry-on bag, you want to put any items that you may need before 6 p.m. Typically, bags do come as soon as possible, but there have been times where people have reported that they don't get their bags until later in the evening. So, if you know you want to go to the pool right away, make sure that your swimming suit is in your carry-on. If you know that you have specialty dining that's early, or you want to change your clothes in order to go to dinner, make sure that's in your carry-on. You just want to make sure that you have everything accessible that you need. That way, in case your bag does come late, you're not stranded without your items. Now, during your check-in process online, you're going to select the time that you want to arrive to the port. So if you know that you're driving in or you're flying in the same day, you want to make sure that you pick a time that you know that you will physically arrive to the port. For example, if you're flying in the same day, which I don't recommend, and your flight doesn't get in until 11:30, you want to pick a time about 12 or 12:30 that allows you enough time to get through the airport and then head to the port so that you can check in. Now, in some instances, if the port is not crowded, they may let you board earlier than your scheduled time. But in most instances, they do strictly follow the time that's printed on your documents to allow you to go into the screening area. Also, just another friendly tip, unless you're staying at a hotel and it comes with complimentary breakfast, don't purchase breakfast if you have an early boarding time. There's going to be tons of food options as soon as you get on the ship. I learned the hard way my very first cruise. We bought breakfast. We were super full, and then we got on the ship and we were like, oh my God, all of this food is available. We thought we weren't going to be able to eat until dinner. So there's tons of food options as soon as you get on the ship. It's waiting for you. So don't pay for breakfast or eat breakfast unless it's complimentary. Then in that case, if it's included with your hotel or a package that with a cruise group, then go ahead. Now, after you drop off your bag with the porter, you're going to come across a cruise personnel who will look at your boarding pass and take a look to make sure you're here for the correct sailing and the correct ship, as well as take a look at that boarding time. Now, there are two separate lines or boarding areas. One is for general boarding, the other is for diamond and platinum guests, as well as those who have purchased faster to the fun. Now, again, if you do arrive to the port early, they may ask you to wait until your boarding time does come. Now, you'll go through a zigzag line and be called to a podium. That personnel will ask you for your boarding pass and passport, or your birth certificate and your state-issued ID. Once they look over those documents and verify everything, they will take your photo. Now, this photo will be used throughout your entire cruise when they're looking you up in the computer system, as well as when you're getting off the ship and getting on the ship in ports, as well as when it's your final time to get off of the ship at the end of your cruise. This photo is also used during your muster drill to verify that you are coming to the muster drill, because they will do another makeup one if you don't come. And there's more details about that in some future vlogs. Now, at this point, after your documents have been verified, you're going to go through a metal detector, and then any carry-on items that you have with you, they're going to go through an x-ray machine. Now, cash accounts, if you have opted to have a cash account, they will ask you to go to another counter after you go up an escalator to add cash to your account, just to get your account started. If you have opted to have a credit card or a debit card on file, they're going to tell you to go right on board, as long as it's not crowded. Now, if it is crowded, they will ask you to have a seat in the waiting area, and then they'll give you a zone number. Now, once you hear that zone number, you can go directly on board. But again, it just depends on how crowded it is. I have found that the earlier time that you pick to get on board, the less crowded it is, and the less likely that you have to sit and wait to get on the ship. The last few cruises that we've gotten on, we've literally gone through the lines, gone through the process, stopped at the counter, because we always do cash accounts, and we've gone straight onto the ship. Now, once you're boarding the ship, they will take an embarkation photo. Those are really fun. To me, once you get to that process and take that photo, that's my indication that you're all through with all of the logistics. It's time to get on and have some fun. Now, you're on the ship, you're excited, you're ready to get the fun started. Now, most of the elevators are shut off during this time, because they're busy getting your luggage on board, and they want to make sure that they get that to you as quickly as possible. The middle glass elevators of the ship are typically working. They also have some of the front elevators that are working, and those are the express lunch elevators. Those will not stop at any of the floors. It'll go directly to the Lido deck so that you can go and get something to eat. Now, depending on what ship you are on will depend on what type of food options they have. Most of the ships now have the Guy's Burgers and the Blue Iguana Cantina. Some ships have Mongolian wok. Some have Cucina del Capitano. Now, keep in mind that you cannot access your stateroom until 1:30, with the exception of Diamond, Platinum. You've purchased that faster to the fun, or you're a suite guest. Anyone else, you do have to wait in the public areas until 1:30, until they make the announcement that you can go to your staterooms. So my advice is to find a comfy spot, because you may have some carry-on items with you. Get some lunch and just start to explore the ship. You can go to any area but those stateroom areas until 1:30, unless you fall into one of those categories that I mentioned. Now, once you get to your stateroom, your sell and sign card will be waiting for you in the mailbox. It is in a sealed envelope, so if you do see that it's been tampered with, you want to go to guest services immediately and let them know that you found your envelope tampered with. Now, keep in mind that you don't have to wait to get your card to make purchases. As I stated in another video, you can use your boarding pass if you want to purchase drinks or any other items before you have access to your room to get your sell and sign card. Make sure to keep a hold of your sell and sign card. It is your life. It will be used to make all of your purchases, like I said, to get into that muster drill, to get on and off the ship. It's basically your ID and your credit card while you're on that ship. So you want to make sure that you take good care of it. It does have your name. It does have your folio number, which is basically your account number. So you want to make sure that's not lost and someone gets a hold to your information. Now, I touched on this a little bit in my previous video, but at some point during the day, you will meet your room steward. And your room steward will just come by to say hello and to meet you. And then also they'll get your preferences of whether you want your room cleaned in the morning, in the evening, or whether you want it cleaned both times. Some people do prefer to only have it cleaned once a day because they know they'll be napping and they don't want to have to leave out of the room when the room steward is there. Some prefer to have it cleaned twice. It's a personal preference. We like to have our room cleaned twice because we know in the morning there's a lot of towels and stuff on the floor from when we're showering. And then in the evening, you know, we like to turn down service as well as just our room to be freshened up a little bit. So again, it's a personal preference, but you will meet your room steward definitely sometime during the day so they can meet you and get those preferences from you. So another tip I have is to take a tour of the ship so that you get to know the layout before the sail away. In particular, to find your dining room. Now, there are 2 main dining rooms on each ship, and which dining room that you're assigned to will be printed on your sail and sign card. The dining room that's usually closer to the back of the ship is only accessible by certain elevators, and sometimes you have to go up one deck to access it. So it can be a little tricky sometimes. So you want to make sure that you find that way you're not waiting until it's time for dinner and you're walking around trying to figure out which dining room you're in. With that also, the maitre d' is usually in the dining rooms, so you can go find your table. I know some people prefer, if you're traveling as a couple, they want to sit by themselves and not with the group. So you can kind of take a look at your table and see if it's a layout that you prefer. If they do have some flexibility, the maitre d' can make some arrangements to adjust your seating. But again, it's important to do this before sail away and not wait until dinner. Now, if you're sailing with kids, you want to make sure that you go to Camp Ocean to register your kids for camp. During the day, it is a complimentary service. They do have certain times, and that information will be available either on the Carnival Hub app or your Fun Times. Mostly the times are limited on port days because they give the staff an opportunity to have time off to explore the ports as well. So you want to check that out. And then also, as I mentioned in the previous video, they do have the night owl service, which for a small fee between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m., your child can be watched. And that's beneficial if you are traveling with other adults and you want to have some time alone to just kind of enjoy the nightlife and things that kids can't get into, such as the adult comedy show as well as the casino. Lastly, you want to make sure that you go to your muster drill when they do announce. Go on time. They do scan your sail and sign card, as I mentioned previously, so that in the computer system it indicates that you showed up. Some ships will not start the muster drill until everyone is in attendance. Others will call your name as a courtesy, and then if you have not attended, they will come find you and they will make sure that you attend the makeup muster drill. It is maritime law that they do complete that muster drill before you set sail. For those who are return cruisers, you might say, well, I've already done it on previous ships. Every ship has a different layout. Every ship has different assignments with regards to where you will go for your muster drill and where your lifeboats are located. So it's very important and beneficial for you to go so you would know what to do in case of an emergency. If you are traveling with a child during the muster drill, they will give you a green band, and your child must wear that band at all times during the cruise. And this just helps to indicate where your child's muster station is, if your child was separated from you in an emergency, or if an emergency took place and they were with the Camp Ocean staff. they would know exactly what muster station to bring your child to. My last few tips, it is optional, but decorate your door. It is very fun to go see the different doors and how they're decorated. It's also a cool way to help identify your room. All of the doors look completely alike, so it helps you to find your stateroom really easy. And like I said, they're fun. We've decorated ours before for my birthday when we did my 30th birthday cruise. I've seen anniversary decorations, I've seen graduation, I've seen bachelorette decorations, you name it. So it's not mandatory, but it is a fun thing to do. And last but certainly not least, you want to have fun. So those are my tips and my what to expect on embarkation a day. I hope this was beneficial, especially to first-time cruisers who may watch this video. Make sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any other videos that we do post. And until next time, bye.